Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to this channel, and today I am back with another video, and this is part 8 to What If Naruto Was a 10 Tails Jinchuriki. I know this story is going really slow, guys, so please bear with me. I'm trying to make it pretty detailed, so it's gonna take a while. It's probably gonna last till like part 12 or something. But it might it might end at like part 11 or part 10, depending on how fast I make Naruto fuck up the Akatsuki. So, anyways, let's continue right where we left off. And we left off right after the Tsunade retrieval arc. She healed Kakashi, and that's where we will be continuing from. Minato is preparing to leave for the meeting with the Tsuchikage, Raikage, and Orochimaru, who was the Otokage, the Sound leaders, the Sound Village's leader, and this meeting was in another 2 days in the Iron Country because of its neutrality. So. Anyways, since Naruto was training Sasuke, Naruto was trying to figure out how to evolve Sasuke's eyes to the Mangekyo Sharingan, and he asked Suki, if he had any ideas, and she was like, "Of course, the best way to evolve the Sharingan into the Mangekyo Sharingan is to channel Senjutsu chakra into the Sharingan." Normally, in the olden days, Uchihas never had the patience to train and become a sage. So they resorted to the easier way to gain the Mangekyo Sharingan, which was to induce so much trauma that the eye would evolve by unconsciously absorbing nature chakra. The old way of obtaining the Mangekyo Sharingan has been lost to history, but luckily I still know it. Also, since uh, the correct way of obtaining the Mangekyo Sharingan involves purifying and taming natural energy and using that to evolve the eye won't go blind. When trauma is used to induce the transformation of the Sharingan to the Mangekyo Sharingan, the nature energy that's absorbed by the Sharingan is wild and untamed. It slowly corrodes on the eye and makes it lose its sight. And it can only be solved by implanting another pair of Mangekyo Sharingan into your own Mangekyo Sharingan. And Naruto was like, so that's why my eyesight is fine when I didn't implant any extra Mangekyo Sharingans. And Atsuki was like, yeah, yes, that's true. So a while later, Naruto approached Sasuke and Itachi, who were just catching up at home, and Sasuke had already forgiven Itachi because Itachi explained his reasons to him, and he also knew the truth from Naruto. But Itachi gave him like all the details. I mean, they already like had their chance to catch up, but then like when Naruto visited, um, basically Itachi was in the middle of asking Sasuke to kill him and take his eyes so that he can evolve his own, and Sasuke was vehemently refusing to do so, or adamantly would be a better word, I guess, but whatever. So Naruto was like, Itachi, stop! I have a better way to evolve Sasuke's Sharingan. And Itachi was like, but that doesn't matter, Naruto. I'm already dying because of a disease, and I'm going blind anyway. And Naruto was like, I can use my Rinnegan paths to fix your disease, but then your eyes, I'm afraid I only have one Mangekyo Sharingan to give to you. And Itachi was like, what? Naruto, no, I can't accept one of your eyes. And Naruto was like, I'm talking about this. And then he fished out a vial from that he sealed in a scroll. And then he basically gave it to Itachi. And Itachi looked inside the vial and saw Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan, and Itachi was like, "What? How did you get this?" And Naruto was like, "I got it from Danzo when he tried to attack me. I killed him." And Itachi was like, "Thank you so much, Naruto." And Naruto was like, "Do you know what happened to the other one?" And Itachi was like, "I have it with me. Now I have the complete set." and Naruto was like, "Good, then you can implant those eyes into your own." And about evolving Sasuke's eyes. Sasuke, come here for a second. And Sasuke obliged and went up to Naruto. And Naruto activated his six path sage mode that he got because of the ten tails. And he placed each of his palms on each of Sasuke's eyes. And he began to channel Senjutsu chakra into them. And finally, when the amount was enough to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke opened his eyes and noticed that he could see everything much clearer than he could with the three Tomoe Sharingan, and he felt like he had a lot more chakra and he was a lot more powerful now. And Itachi was like, "Naruto, what did you do?" And Naruto was like, "The ten tails that sealed inside me. She told me another way to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan." And Itachi was like, "What? There's another way?" And Naruto was like, "Yeah, it's been lost to time because the Uchihas of the old generation love taking shortcuts to gaining power." And Itachi was like, "And does that change his abilities in any way?" And Naruto was like, "Good question, let me ask." And he closed his eyes to talk to Suki, and Suki was like when Naruto asked Suki about Sasuke's eye powers, Suki was like, "He has all of the Mangekyo abilities." And Naruto was like, "You're kidding, right?" And Tsuki was like, "I'm not kidding. When the Mangekyo Sharingan is awakened by trauma, each eye only has one ability, and together they have the Susanoo. But then, the Mangekyo Sharingan is awakened in the correct way, each eye has two Mangekyo Sharingan abilities, and also the Susanoo. This together makes all five of the Mangekyo Sharingan abilities: Tsukiyomi, Amaterasu, Kamui, Kotomatsukami, and Susanoo. And now Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan has the added benefit of him not feeling pain when he uses it. And Naruto relayed all of this to Itachi, and Itachi is absolutely shocked, out of his mind, when he heard about all of this. And then Naruto was like, "Itachi, would you like me to implant your friend's eyes into you now?" And Itachi was like, "Sure." And Naruto implanted Itachi's eyes, and he summoned the King of Hell to cure Itachi's sickness and also help his eyes heal. And Itachi emerged from the mouth of the King of Hell looking good as new. And both the Chia brothers were nice and healthy. And over the next day, Gurren was interrogated, and Naruto was given the mission to get rid of all the root ninjas. And he was specifically given that mission because of his information source, which is the ten tails. And due to the ten tails clairvoyance, he was able to locate all the bases. And and he pretty much eliminated and destroyed all of them, thus causing all the internal threats to Konoha to be destroyed. So now it was time for Minato to go with Naruto and Jiraiya to the meeting, um, and Naruto used Kamui to bring all of them there. So they were all greeted by Mifune and his two samurai guards, and Mifune was like, "I'm pleased to meet you, Lord Hokage. You and your guards are the first to make it to the meeting. We still have about half an hour before the meeting starts. So please rest in the conference room." And Minato and Naruto and Jiraiya nodded, and they went to the meeting room. And a while later, they were joined by the rest of the, Kage and their guards. The Raikage got Karui, sorry, not Karui, what the fuck, Darui and C as his guards. Onoki got Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi as his guards, and Orochimaru got reanimated Kimimaro and Kabuto as his guards. The meeting commenced, and Mifune declared himself to be the mediator. Minato spoke up, and he was like, I request to commence our discussion, and Mifune was like, request granted, Lord Hokage. Please speak. And Minato was like, I request to know why your three villages are going to war with Konoha. Onoki spoke first, and he was like, how dare you ask such a question, Lord Hokage? Your family is responsible for the deaths of 5,000 of my ninjas. And Minato was like, you mean the 5,000 ninjas that you sent to capture them? What did you expect them to do? Stay put and be subjugated to rape and torture? And Onoki was like, they deserve it. Especially that bitch Kushina. And Minato honestly felt like strangling Onoki right then and there, but then he knew that this was a Kage meeting, and he couldn't act upon his impulses right now. So he stayed put. And Naruto was seething in anger, but then he also realized that since this was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting, he wasn't supposed to try to interfere. Anyways, the Raikage spoke next, and he was like, "My reasons are confidential, Lord Hokage." And Minato just nodded, and then Orochimaru spoke, and he was like, "Well, it's no secret that I want Konoha destroyed." And Minato sighed at Orochimaru, and Minato he was like, "I address the Raikage and the Tsuchikage. Are you not aware of the threat that's making itself known?" And the Raikage was like, "Cut to the chase, Lord Hokage. What do you speak of?" And Minato was like, "My spies have told me of an organization known as the Akatsuki, made of S-rank criminals. Right now, it has about 8 members. They are after the tail beasts, and a war would make it easier for them to capture them. Your country's Jinchurikis are no longer safe." And Onoki was like, "Exactly. This war will give us more weapons to throw at them. We will capture Konoha's Biju, and they shall become our weapons." And Minato cursed at the stupidity of this man, and he was like, "Don't you understand? This war will cause all of our villages to lose strength because of the people who die. I dropped charges to the Cloud Village after I dropped charges to the Stone Village after the stunt they pulled with my family, because I knew that at a time like this we can't afford to go to war." And the Raikage spoke up, and he was like, "Too bad we don't agree with you, Lord Hokage. No matter what you say, this war will happen." And by the way, guys, this is the third Raikage, not the fourth one. The fourth one will come after the time skip. So, anyways, I don't know like whether the fourth Raikage was like in office before the time skip, but then in this story it's going to be the third Raikage, because the fourth Raikage he is not as reckless as the third one. So and also he is a lot less militaristic than the third Raikage. So anyways, with all that said, Minato decided that negotiating with uh, everyone in the meeting wouldn't work, and Orochimaru was a lost cause because he wanted to destroy Konoha anyway. He doesn't care about Akatsuki, and yeah, so he stood up and he was like, "It seems we'll still be going to war. There's no point of me trying to make peace right now, since I'm not talking to people who are willing to listen. I'm leaving this meeting. Mifune, it might as well be adjourned by now." And Mifune was like, "Alright, the Kage meeting has been adjourned. You may all see yourselves out now." And everyone did that. And since it was a diplomatic meeting, no one really attacked each other, and they just left to their villages to make preparations. And like after a few days, the Sand Village tried to ally with Konoha in the war, but then Konoha refused, saying that they still need to get back on their feet after the stunt that Orochimaru pulled with them. and the Sand Council asked Minato why he wanted to take on those three villages alone, and Minato said that they could take those villages on without facing any casualties and win the war, but then they just didn't want he just didn't want those nations to lose power because of the threat of the Akatsuki, and he told the Sand of the threat of the Akatsuki and what it means for Gara. So they all decided to train Gara so that he'd become stronger to face the Akatsuki. So yeah, and at this point the Sound Four decided to go after Sasuke, and since they still saw the curse mark on his neck, they thought it was the same curse mark because they didn't know any better. But it was actually the one Naruto modified by destroying Orochimaru's soul, and they asked Sasuke to come with them to gain more power under Orochimaru, and Sasuke told him that he'd decide, and he wanted to first decide and then meet up with them later. And basically, the Sound Four told him the time that they'd be meeting him outside the village gates. Sasuke inwardly smiled at this, and he agreed. And he then went to tell Minato what is going on, and Naruto was called as well. So Minato was like, "So Sasuke, why did you want to discuss something with me and Naruto? What is it that you would like to discuss?" And Sasuke told Minato about what happened with the Sound Four, and Minato was like, "Damn that Orochimaru, trying to get his hands on some of my shinobi." And Sasuke was like, "I'd like to go," and Minato was like, "What? Are you out of your mind? Don't you realize that he just wants you because he wants one of his bodies to have the Sharingan?" And Sasuke was like, I understand that, but it would be a good way to get intel before the war." And Minato was like, so you want to be a spy?" And Sasuke was like, "Precisely." And Minato looked to Naruto and he was like, "Naruto, what do you think of this?" And Naruto was like, "It's a good plan. Sasuke just has to pretend to be obsessed with revenge like he was before. The Ten Tails is telling me that Orochimaru has to replace his body anytime soon, sometime soon. So I will be sent as a retrieval squad for Sasuke, and I'll try to delay them as much as possible. In case Orochimaru tries to take Sasuke's body, I'm giving him a flying Raijin kunai, and he'll just have to throw it down, and I'll be called to the place." And Minato was like, "Are you sure though? Sasuke is still a genin." And Minato was like, "Oh wait, I almost forgot. Speaking of ninja rank, I have some promotions to make." And he turned to his assistant and he told her, "Call Shikamaru Nara, Rock Lee, and my other two children." And the secretary was like, "At once, Lord Hokage." And as soon as they all arrived, Minato was like, "Shikamaru Nara and Rock Lee, I promote both of you to the rank of Chunin because of the skills and the tactics you displayed in the exams, in the Chunin exams." And he turned to Menma, Meiko, and Sasuke, and he was like, "You three will be promoted to Special Jonin. I feel you need just a little bit more of experience and skill before you can be promoted to full-time Jonin." And he turned to Naruto and he was like, "You are promoted to Jonin. With the skill set you have and your intelligence, it would be stupid if I didn't promote you to Jonin. However, I need you to get more experience before you can start taking on Genin squads." And they all nodded at this, and everyone other than Naruto and his siblings and Sasuke went back to you know their home or whatever they were doing. And they were just discussing about Sasuke's mission, and in the meantime, all the villages were updating their bingo books. They made an entry for Naruto, and it read, "Name Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Title The Reaper. Description: has extremely pale skin and white hair, has cerulean blue eyes, height 5 feet 4 inches, weight estimate 65 to 70 kgs, wears hidden leaf Anbu style clothing, has a muscular but lean frame. Skills: ninjutsu 10 on 10, genjutsu unknown, taijutsu 9 on 10, weapons 10 on 10, molds strange orbs into weapons of his choice. Fuinjutsu unknown, medical ninjutsu unknown, summoning toads, chakra natures, wind, lightning, fire, earth, water. Kekkei Genkai, Sharingan, Rinnegan, ice release, lava release. Possibly has others as well. Rank SS. Affiliations: Minato Namikaze, father. Kushina Uzumaki, mother. Menma Uzumaki Namikaze, brother. Meiko Uzumaki Namikaze, sister. Sasuke Uchiha, adopted brother. Hinata Hyuga, close friend. Action: do not engage in any circumstances. Bounties: 1 billion Rio in the Stone Village, dead. 2 billion in the Stone Village, alive. 1.5 billion in the Cloud Village, dead. And 2 billion in the Cloud Village, alive. 1 billion in the Sound Village, dead or alive. And Minato, reading this, he smiled because he was proud of Naruto for surpassing him in every way, and he knew that it would be valuable for his side having Naruto. And he even decided that in the upcoming war, he'd let Naruto have control of a squad. And even though he didn't want his children and adopted child to fight wars at such a young age, he knew that they were very powerful ninjas in Konoha, and in order to win the war, he needed to use anything he can get up his sleeve. So, yeah, he decided to go along with it, much to Kushina's disdain. But once he explained everything to her, she agreed that sending Naruto to sending her kids to fight the war was a good idea, and Naruto would be able to protect them. Anyways, now it is time for the Sound Shinobi to take Sasuke to Orochimaru, and Sasuke met them outside the gate. I mean, he was going there, but then Sakura tried to stop him. But the same thing happened that happened in canon, and of course he didn't thank her for anything because she didn't really deserve it. But then, anyways, he left, and Itachi knew of Sasuke's plan, as Sasuke did tell him about it, and he was completely fine with it as he completely trusted Sasuke. And Orochimaru still didn't know that Itachi betrayed the Akatsuki, and he was back in Konoha. And speaking of Itachi betraying the Akatsuki, he was. And the Akatsuki weren't exactly thrilled when they found out what Itachi did, and they found out about the loss of both Itachi and Kisame. And Itachi was literally the third most powerful member in the organization after Madara and Pain. And of course, by Madara I mean Obito, but then never mind that. And he could also possibly be the second strongest if it weren't for his illness. And of course, his illness was treated in Konoha. So if he was still in the if he decided to join the Akatsuki again, he would be the strongest now. But then, anyways, that wouldn't happen. So, anyways, in the Akatsuki base, of course they were absolutely seething in rage, and yeah, also because Kisame was a pretty strong member as well, possibly the strongest after Itachi, Pain and Madara. So after losing two of their strongest members, they were absolutely displeased, and they couldn't even retrieve Kisame's sword, which is a Samehada, and they lost a pretty valuable asset. So anyways, Hidan was shouting something about sacrificing Itachi to Jashin, and um, So, anyways, after all of that, talk about the base, the Akatsuki base. We move to Sasuke leaving the village, and the same interaction happens between him and Sakura, except Sakura doesn't know that Sasuke is just doing a covert mission for Konoha. She thinks that he's actually leaving to get power, and of course, Sakura wakes up later to tell Naruto about Sasuke leaving, and Naruto goes on his own to quote unquote retrieve Sasuke. As it's there's no question about Naruto's power in the village. Everyone pretty much accepts that Naruto can do this mission on his own, and I really don't need to go in depth about Naruto's fights with the Sound 4 because they're going to be pretty boring because Naruto's going to win. Anyways, it's not going to be a very interesting fight because they are pretty much fodder. So yeah, the only fight I'm going to talk about is Naruto versus Kimimaro, and Naruto basically sees Kimimaro stop him from trying to take the barrel where Sasuke was in, and of course, by the way, this is Edo Tensei Kimimaro because Naruto did kill Kimimaro in the fight between the three Sanin and Tanzakugai, and yeah, so it's going to make it that much harder for Naruto. But since Naruto knows Sealing Jutsu, if he figures out that Kimimaro is an Tensei, he will be able to seal him away. So. So first Naruto engages Kimimaro in a taijutsu fight, and Naruto replaces himself with the Shadow Clone, and right when Kimimaro gets too close to him, he basically infuses way too much chakra into the Shadow Clone, and to make it explode. And Kimimaro is blown away by this, and then pieces of his skin are basically ripped off. But Naruto sees them attaching back together, and Naruto narrows his eyes and looks carefully at Kimimaro to see that he has several cracks on his skin and black sclera. So he basically thinks to himself, so he's an Edo Tensei. So he basically charges chakra onto his finger and quickly blitzes Kimimaro and basically restrains him long enough to draw the seal for paralysis onto Kimimaro. He reaches into the nape of the neck, like Kimimaro's nape of the neck, and pulls out the kunai with the contract tag, which makes Kimimaro basically a still puppet pretty much. And meanwhile, while all of this was happening, Sasuke got out of the barrel, and he gave Naruto a discreet nod, and he had one of Naruto's kunai with him in case he ever needed it. So Sasuke basically ran off and told Orochimaru that Kimimaro was holding Naruto, and they can basically escape from here now. And Orochimaru first thought that this was too easy for someone of Naruto's power to just let Orochimaru have Sasuke like that. Even though Orochimaru lost the Sound 5 in the process, he felt that something was off about this exchange. But then the fact that the Sharingan was just within his grasp kind of clouded his judgment for a little bit, and since Sasuke did arrive a little bit late, Orochimaru had to take the body of somebody else, and yeah, so Sasuke is pretty safe at the moment. So now we move back to Naruto, who was, in a genjutsu that Sasuke put on him, and of course, he could have easily broken this genjutsu, but then it was Sasuke's last message to him before leaving, and basically Sasuke told Naruto to tell Meiko that he loved her, and Naruto was like, "Hold up, when did this happen?" And Sasuke was like, Naruto, I was intrigued by your sister long before we even became genin. However, we only got together during the Chunin exams break when we had to train to face our opponents in the finals. And Naruto was like, "Why didn't she ever tell me? Or why didn't you ever tell me?" And Sasuke was like, "I guess it never came up. I was just intrigued by the fact that your sister was never a lousy fangirl like Ino or Sakura." Ever since we all were young, she was strong and independent. She was smart as well, smarter than all the other kunoichi of her age. Not to mention very beautiful. Slowly, my interest in her turned from that of curiosity to that of romance, and I finally asked her out during the 1 month break that we had. Honestly, at first I was too afraid to tell you because I thought you'd melt my balls with your lava release. And Naruto and Sasuke both shared a chuckle at that. And Naruto was like, "Come on, Sasuke, you know I wouldn't do that." And Sasuke was like, "But still, my egoistic tendencies that I had in the academy are gone, and I have no delusions of being more powerful than you." And Naruto was like, "That's true. Anyways, I will tell her, and I'll hopefully get some details about this from her as well." And Sasuke was like, "Wait, you're not going to give me the talk about how you're going to kill me painfully if I hurt her?" And Naruto was like, "I don't need to. I already trust you to not do something that's stupid." And Sasuke was like, "Thank you, Naruto. It means a lot to me that I have your support. Let's hope for the sake of us and the rest of your family that I'll return from this mission in one piece." And Naruto was like, "Don't forget to use the kunai if you need it." And Sasuke was like, "I'll keep it with me at all times. See you now." And Naruto was like, "Alright then, I better get going as well." And they waved each other off, and the genjutsu ended. And Naruto basically returned to Konoha thinking, looks like Itachi has been teaching Sasuke some more advanced genjutsu. Looks like Itachi does trump me in genjutsu. While my genjutsu is more powerful, his is more subtle. And with this thought in mind, he made his way back to Konoha. And he saw Sakura at the gates waiting for him. And she was like, "Naruto, where is Sasuke?" And Naruto was like, "I'm sorry, Sakura, but he left." Before I could get to him, Orochimaru took him and reverse summoned him. And Naruto made his way back to his family, and Sakura was pretty pissed off, by the way, because of Naruto not even not trying to get Sasuke back, and he didn't even look injured, so he should have been able to easily get Sasuke. But then Naruto said that since there wasn't even a need to fight because Orochimaru reverse summoned him and he couldn't do anything about it. So Kakashi comforted Sakura, and yeah, so now we move to Naruto in his house with his family, and he explained the entire mission to his family, after they promised that they would keep it a secret, and uh, which is because this was an S rank mission, and it wasn't an overt operation, so he basically demanded that they keep it a secret from all of their peers, and he gave Sasuke's message to Meiko, and Meiko looked a little sad about this, but Naruto knew better, as he knew that Meiko uh, had his father's personality, where she had a more like cool-headed approach to things. So he gave the message. So he basically asked Meiko to give him the details of like what exactly happened between her and Sasuke, and Meiko basically said that she had been crushing on Sasuke ever since Naruto's family took him in, as their personalities became quite similar. Like both were pretty cool-headed, and they would fight fiercely to protect their loved ones. Especially after Sasuke knew realized what it meant to have precious people, and she basically admired his sentiments in that aspect. So. That's why she was inclined to agree when Sasuke asked her out. So now we move on to the 3 year time skip where Jiraiya asks Naruto and his siblings to come on the training trip. And Jiraiya already knew that Naruto was strong enough, but then he took him along to help his siblings control their tail beast power, and also teach them a lot of techniques to like powerful techniques to make them stronger. So I'm just gonna give you a fast forward of what happened in the time skip. So The third Raikage was killed in battle, and the fourth Raikage, uh, he assumed the mantle of Raikage, and he withdrew his support to the Stone Village and the Sound Village. As after reading the Bingo book, he had no delusions that he would be able to defeat the force of nature that was Naruto, and though this pissed off the Stone Village and the Sound Village, they couldn't really do anything about it, because if they tried to go to war with the Cloud Village, it's possible that the Cloud Village might ally with the Leaf Village, or even if they didn't, they would lose a lot of their forces, which would reduce, which would you know screw up any chances that they even have of winning such a war, and with the Leaf Village. So they just had to let the Cloud Village go for the time being, and they tried to ally with the Mist Village, but then uh, when Naruto and when Jiraiya, Naruto, Meiko, and Menma all went to help the rebels win the war, um, and make Mei the Mizukage. Um, it was impossible to get the Mist Village's support, and they knew the Sand Village was allied with Konoha, and Gara was a friend of Naruto's, so they wouldn't support him. And the Rain Village had been locked off to the outside, to the other elemental nations, and the Waterfall Village wasn't very strong, and also it was allied with Konoha, so they couldn't really get any more allies. They pretty much had to make do. So, Jiraiya didn't really change over the 3 years, but Naruto, Menma, and Meiko did. Menma's hair was basically like his dad's, pretty much his style was like exactly the same, and Meiko's vibrant red hair was braided up into one long braid that reached the middle of her back, and think Elsa's braid from Frozen. So it was basically like that except in red, and Naruto. His hair was basically Madara's hair in white color, and Naruto and Menma grew to exactly the same height. And while Naruto was still physically stronger than Menma had a much buffer look to him than Naruto, as his taijutsu style was more like that of a brawler. And Meiko's body was a lithe frame, which was similar to that of a cheetah, and she definitely did develop, if you guys know what I mean. And I'm pretty sure you guys want to know her measurements. So basically, she had an hourglass figure and perky C cup breasts and a pretty fine looking ass. So she definitely wasn't as curvy as Tsunade, because come on, guys. I know breasts like that are pretty huge and also aesthetically pleasing, but then uh, she's a kunoichi, and if she has breasts as big as those, they would get in the way of her fighting. And that's also probably the reason why the only taijutsu that Tsunade knows is punching things really hard. So in terms of what they learned, Naruto didn't really learn anything new. He just got physically stronger and fitter, and he lost pretty much all of his baby fat, and he just kept training so that his body wouldn't atrophy. And even though the Ten-Tails told him that this wouldn't be a problem for him, he still liked to train because of force of habit. It became kind of like brushing his teeth to him. He just didn't feel right on a day if he didn't train. So yeah, and Menma, he could use all five chakra natures, but he was still most comfortable using lightning. And this is the order of how comfortable he is with each of his chakra natures. So he's most comfortable using lightning, and after that is water, and then after that is fire, then earth, then wind. And then for Meiko, she also knows how to use all five chakra natures. and her order is fire, wind, lightning, earth, and water. So Meiko could run elemental chakra natures through her chains, and she also mastered all types of Rasengans, for each element. And then Menma created a version of the Flying Thunder God that was much more convenient to use because he would be able to travel by using the ions in the air. So his battle tactic was to first use a lot of lightning ninjutsu to charge the air up with ions, and then he would use his flying Raijin, version 3, and travel through the ions and basically decimate his entire enemy. And he did work together with Naruto on this, so they both did know the technique, and he also became highly proficient in Kenjutsu, as he basically battled a former a former member of the Seven Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist known as Raiga Kurosuke, and he took the twin lightning swords as the spoils of battle. So he trained pretty hard with those, and he was able to easily run lightning through them, and they amplified his lightning techniques, so he wasn't really complaining about them. And he knew a few versions of the elemental Rasengans, but then he didn't know all of them. He only knew the lightning one, and the water one, and the wind one. So in the lightning one, he learned the vanishing Rasengan, but then there are two lightning Rasengans, which are the vanishing Rasengan and the spiraling Senbon. And he didn't learn the spiraling Senbon because he didn't have the necessary skill in chakra shape manipulation to actually use that technique. But then he did learn the vanishing Rasengan, and for water, he learned the spiraling drill and the whirling spiraling torrents. And by the way, guys, the word Rasen means spiraling, if you didn't know. So Rasengan means spiraling ball or spiraling sphere. So yeah, just so that you know. So anyways, for wind, he did learn the same wind style, Rasen Shuriken. So yeah, and since Jiraiya gave both Menma and Meiko the key, they were able to use all nine tails of chakra that the QB had. Yeah, they both had the KCM2 chakra cloaks. And by the way, Naruto does have the Jubi chakra cloak, which is white in color. But other than the fact that it's white, it looks the same as the QB chakra cloak, and but it's way more powerful since it's the Jubis. And now we move to Sasuke's training, and what Sasuke has been doing over these years. And like in the in the 3 years, Naruto did visit Sasuke every single week. Whenever Sasuke threw the kunai, like Sasuke would throw the kunai whenever he was, free from Orochimaru's watchful eyes, and Naruto would appear to give him a scroll every week, like a few scrolls, and Sasuke also learned all five chakra natures, and the order of using them was lightning, fire, water, earth, and wind. So Naruto gave Sasuke scrolls for all of these elements, and he also gave him scrolls on how to control his Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. And Sasuke would always memorize these scrolls using his Sharingan and burn them with Katon Jutsu. And over the years, Sasuke lost his stupid duck butt hairstyle, and now he had long spiky hair that went up to his shoulders, and was tied up with the same kind of bandages that Lee uses, if you remember. And if you want like a pictorial kind of thing, think of Indra's hairstyle, Hagoromo's son Indra's hairstyle, just a little bit shorter than that. And yeah, that's Sasuke's hairstyle, and it's in black. So Sasuke did grow a lot taller, and he was just an inch shorter than Naruto and Menma, but he was half a foot taller than Meiko. And if you want like accurate numbers, Naruto and Menma are both 6 feet 3. Uh, in comparison, Jiraiya would be like 6 feet 1, and Sasuke was 6 feet 2, and Meiko was 5 feet 8. So it's kind of like that. And his face had become Sasuke's face had become much more angular, and his jawline was much more prominent, and he was muscular but lean at the same time, similar to Naruto. And now we move on to Hinata, and of course Naruto didn't neglect her training either, but she was taken as Tsunade's apprentice, and Tsunade did train her in charging her fists with chakra, to punch and kick harder, like to charge her body parts with chakra so that she could attack harder. Whenever the gentle fist fighting style wasn't whenever the opponent was able to counter the gentle fist style. And of course she didn't have the same gentle fist style. She had the flowing fist style that suited her water affinity, and she could use four chakra natures, which was everything except for fire. So basically the ease at which she could use each element was water, then lightning, then earth, then wind. And she perfected her flowing fist fighting style, and the flowing fist would basically charge water chakra into each of the uh, you know uh, chakra points, and it would have an area damage kind of thing. So basically it would hit all the tenketsu around that tenketsu. And Hinata also became very well versed with genjutsu, and she could use genjutsu through her byakugan, like how Uchihas did with the Sharingan. And the only reason that such a thing was unheard of in the Hyuga clan was because the Hyuga clan was too arrogant to do anything past their regular taijutsu. So none of the Hyugas that were known, uh, you know, ever ventured into the other ninja arts, and those who did were were killed off. And the only reason why Hinata was able to continue was because anyone who attacked her, she would easily be able to beat them, or if she couldn't, she would call Naruto to help her. And also, being the Hokage's apprentice had deterred most of the attackers. So and of course Hiyashi didn't want his daughter to get killed, so that also deterred several attackers. But then there were for the few people who did still try to attack her, she would easily deal with them and kill them. So yeah, and also I forgot to mention all of them learned senjutsu, and Naruto already had six path sage mode, so he didn't really have to worry about that part. So he basically, I mean, basically, Menma and Meiko learned Toad Sage mode, Sasuke learned Snake Sage mode, and Hinata learned Slug Sage mode. So yeah, they all became pretty OP, and Naruto earned the rank of SS class ninja in the bingo book, like three S's, and in May's words, he made S rank ninja look like Genin trying to fight a Jonin sensei, while the rest of them, which was Sasuke, Hinata, Menma, and Meiko, all became S rank ninjas. And Sasuke got the crow summon from Itachi as well, and he would constantly send Konoha words of new developments in Orochimaru's plans. So yeah, Konoha was more powerful than ever, and all of these new developments in the bingo books made Onoki start to feel second thoughts about his plan to attack Konoha. But Orochimaru said that since they have Sasuke on their side, and Orochimaru himself, who's also an S rank nin, and Onoki himself was an S rank ninja as well. He said that they would be fine. But Onoki decided that just in case, they would hire the Akatsuki to help them fight in the war against Konoha. So yeah, that's what they did. They hired the Akatsuki, which now consisted of Pain, Conan, Toby slash Madara slash Obito, Zetsu, Kakuzu, Hidan, Deidara, and Sasori. And they agreed to be hired because they decided that taking on the Nine Tails and the Ten Tails Jinchuriki would be too much too difficult. So they wouldn't give them a chance to get any stronger, and they would attack with the help of the stone and the sound village. And this was good for this would be good in both ways, because if the Stone Village and the Sound Village lose, uh, then they could easily make a retreat, and if they win, then they could capture the Nine Tails and the Ten Tails Jinchurikis, which would make it much easier for their plan, and they would use chakra suppressors in order to render them incapable of fighting back, and it would be one step closer to their plan. Anyways, after Menma, Meiko, and Naruto, along with Jiraiya, after they all reach home, they all body flickered to avoid any attention because they wanted to surprise Minato, Hinata, and Kushina. And all four of them were wearing traveling cloaks, so it wasn't very easy to see their face. So they body flickered straight to the Hokage's office, and Minato instantly called the Anbu, and he was like, "Identify yourselves." And Menma was like, "I'm hurt. It's only been 3 years, and my father has already forgotten who I am." And Minato was like, "My children, is that you?" And they all removed their hoods, and Minato instantly, got to them and hugged them, and then Minato was like, "So you must be Sensei then." And Jiraiya also removed his hood, and he was like, "That I am, Minato." And Minato was like, "I'm so happy to see all of you. It's been too long." And Naruto was like, "Likewise, father." And Minato was like, "Hold on, let me call Hinata here. She would be excited to meet all of you." And Naruto blushed a little bit, and instantly Jiraiya was next to him with a notepad, and he was like, "Something you want to share, Naruto?" And Naruto just backhanded Jiraiya into the wall, and he was like, "Fucking pervert." And Meiko was like, "He's not wrong, you know. You always blush like that after helping Hinata train." And Naruto was like, "Oh, shush." And it's not like it's not the same with you and Sasuke. And now it was Meiko's turn to blush. And Menma, looking at these two, became slightly jealous that he didn't have, he was still single among his siblings. And Naruto just patted him on the shoulder, and he was like, "It'll happen someday, bro." And Menma just nodded, and Hinata soon came to the office, and as soon as she saw Naruto, she ran up to him and kissed him, like straight on the lips. And Minato was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, when did this happen?" And Naruto was like, "We confessed our feelings to each other about 1.5 years ago." And Minato was like, "Wait, you visited Konoha during your training trip?" And Naruto was like, "Of course I did. I left my flying Raijin kunai. That has been with Hinata ever since I left." And Minato looked at Hinata, who just nodded at that. And he was like, "You could have left one for me and Kushina, you know." And Naruto was like, "I couldn't do that. I only left them with Hinata and Sasuke so that I could help them train." And Minato was like, clearly, in a sarcastic tone. And he sat down, and he was like, "Anyways, why don't you all tell me about how your training has been over the past 2.5 years?" And after all the details were shared, Minato and Hinata were both gobsmacked. And Minato was like, individually, how strong are they, Sensei? And Jiraiya was like, "I don't even know, Minato. Menma and Meiko could each solo me, Tsunade, and you and still win. While Naruto, even since before the training trip, he could easily level all the shinobi in the entire world." And Minato was absolutely shocked. And by the way, I forgot to say, guys, he invited Kushina also, of course, like she's his wife and the mother of his children. So of course she'd like to know the details of the training trip. So of course he invited both her and Hinata. So yeah, I just forgot to say that. And anyways, Jiraiya was like, "That's not all. You remember how Naruto is known as the Reaper in the bingo books, right?" And Minato nodded, and Jiraiya was like, "Naruto is now classified as an SSS rank threat." a caliber of shinobi that would make fighting all the shinobi who ever existed the child's play for him. And Minato was shocked, and Jiraiya was like, "Your other children have made names in the bingo book as well. Meiko is known as a blood princess, and Menma is known as a sorcerer. It's because when Meiko fights, the entire battlefield is covered in blood because she mainly fights using her sword. But Menma mainly fights using ninjutsu, all of which include less than 3 hand signs. Both are listed as SS class ninja. They make S class ninja look like genin compared to them. Needless to say, all three of them have long surpassed you." And Minato was like, "I couldn't be more proud." And Naruto turned to Hinata and he was like, "Hinata, why don't you tell me about your time training?" And she told him all the details. And even though he was the one who gave her many of the scrolls that she used, he was absolutely surprised seeing that she invented several jutsu of her own, and she was really powerful. And Hinata opened the bingo book, and she showed Naruto an entry, which was under the name Hinata Hyuga and alias Blood Moon. Because despite her soft nature, she became quite good at taking assassination missions, as her training with Tsunade made her familiar with many poisons and how to administer them. And also, she had the Byakugan, which looked like tiny moons. So that's why she was called Blood Moon. And her ninja class was S. So Naruto, Menma, and Meiko all congratulated Hinata on becoming an S rank shinobi, and Hinata was extremely happy. So, anyways, they began preparations for the war that was going to befall upon them soon. And wait, by the way, guys, I forgot about Itachi. Itachi was there too. He listened to everything as well, and he also had the same reactions. But he was already an S rank ninja too, so he was going to be a pretty powerful person in the war. So, anyways, sorry about that, guys. Now we move to Sasuke, and since Orochimaru is approaching the time where his body dies, he was preparing himself for the body transfer ritual, and the same thing happens in the the anime, and Sasuke easily beats Orochimaru since he learned several more techniques, and he didn't give Orochimaru the opportunity to try to use the body transfer ritual on him. Instead, like before Orochimaru got that chance, he easily killed him and burned his body with Amaterasu flame so that no one can ever use uh, any remnant of his body. So, of course, Kabuto was really pissed because Orochimaru died, and since Sasuke didn't know any sealing jutsu and he wasn't interested in learning it as well, he used the Flying Raijin Kunai to summon Naruto, uh, and Naruto easily was able to dispose of Kabuto um, by nullifying the Edo Tensei contract and destroying his body using his truth-seeking orbs. And Naruto and Sasuke together they rescued Suigetsu, Karin, and Jugo, and all the other curse mark monsters and other experiments were killed, except when some of the people who were experimented upon weren't hopeless cases. They were just captured and taken prisoner, but then the rest were all killed. And any prisoners with the curse mark were, relieved of the curse mark by Naruto's sealing jutsu. And Naruto and Sasuke came back with the prisoners and Suigetsu, Karin, and Jugo. So, and Karin wasn't a rabid Sasuke fangirl because it wasn't him that saved her in the forest of death when she was a genin, but it was actually Menma. Karin just shared like an acquaintance kind of camaraderie with Sasuke. So, anyways, as soon as Menma saw Karin, his jaw dropped, seeing her beauty. until he widened his eyes in recognition, and he was like, you're from the tuning exams." And Karin was like, so you're the one who saved me that day." And Menma sheepishly rubbed the back of his head and mumbled that he would do that for anybody. And Naruto just elbowed him so that he would go make his move. So Menma walked up to Karin, and first he turned to Sasuke and he was like, "Sasuke, they're not with Orochimaru, are they?" And Sasuke was like, "Don't worry, Jugo here is only loyal to me. Suigetsu was glad to come with me as he was tired of being one of Orochimaru's experiments. And Karin was never loyal to him anyway." And Menma nodded, and he was like, "What's your name?" "I'm Menma." And Karin was like, "I'm Karin." And Menma was like, "Would you like me to show you around the village?" And Karin was like, "I would love that." And they both went together to check out the village. And Naruto, nudged his sister, and he was like, "About time, huh?" And Meiko just nodded. Anyways, afterwards they, continued preparing for the war until the day finally came. I'm sorry, this is pretty rushed, guys. Uh, and I kind of made Naruto way too OP. A mistake that I consistently keep making. It won't be as bad in the next series, alright? Uh, I think this is why people keep discontinuing the Ten Tails What If videos, because Naruto becomes way too powerful and the story kind of becomes very one sided. So I'm sorry about that mistake, but for those of you who like it when Naruto's so OP that he totally stomps over any kind of competition, I'm sure you'd like this What If, or you liked it until now, but this is possibly going to be the last part of the What If, because I'm not really going to describe the fights in too much of detail because it's going to be way too one-sided. Anyways, the Rock and the Stone Village and the Sound Village's armies were preparing an attack on Fire Country's border, and they prepared to send the Akatsuki, enduring the fight between the massive army and the Konoha shinobi. And by the way, Naruto, Menma, Meiko, and Jiraiya all helped, the uh, Mist Village, rebels to gain freedom, and Mei became the fifth Mizukage. But then, when she offered her help in the war, they declined, saying that Konoha will have sufficient power to deal with it. And she just said okay, because where for her if she doesn't waste her shinobi. So and same thing happened with the Sand Village. Even though Gara and Naruto and Minato and all of them were on good terms, when they offered help, Konoha refused because they said that they had enough shinobi and enough power to deal with the threat. So it was basically the Stone Village and the Sound Village versus Konoha. So, and by the way, and Akatsuki is on the Stone Village and Sound Village's side. So, the Sound Village is gone now because Sasuke and Naruto dealt with it, and Orochimaru was dead, and all the curse seals were gone, meaning that Orochimaru would never return except if he was an Edo Tensei. So now it was just the Stone Village, and the Stone Village was becoming ever more apprehensive about facing Konoha because Orochimaru promised several good shinobi, plus the Edo Tensei, which would bring back several shinobi. But then, when Naruto and Sasuke single-handedly annihilated the entire Sound Village, they had lost a lot of power in the war, and they lost their winning chance pretty much. But then they hoped that Akatsuki would be enough to take on the Konoha. And also the Four Tails and the Five Tails Jinchurikis refused to participate in the war because they would basically just be helping out the Akatsuki by weakening their own forces and easily allowing the Akatsuki to capture them later. They were now on the run, and they weren't going to be any. They weren't going to participate in this war. Anyways, as the attack was launched, you know, Naruto, like basically the main five characters of this series, stood on the wall of Konoha, um, like Naruto, Sasuke, Menma, Meiko, and Hinata. So these were the people who stood there. And Naruto turned to Menma and he was like, "Shall we?" And Menma, nodded. And meanwhile, Sasuke, Meiko, and Hinata all started slashing through the entire army. Sasuke with his Chokuto sword, his katana, and oh wait, sorry, not his katana. Sorry, guys. The twin lightning fang blades that Naruto got by defeating Raiga. Meiko had Samehada, and Hinata was using elemental jutsu and senbon that were coated with poisons. Meanwhile, Naruto and Menma both jointly did a jutsu, and they're like lightning style, Wrath of the Thunder God. And this sent a huge charge of electricity like straight down onto the battlefield, decimating more than half of the forces. And the Tsuchikage Onoki was absolutely terrified at this point. They were like, "How are these five kids absolutely decimating our entire army?" And they only had 10,000 shinobi left. And using the charge, the ions in the air that manifested as a result of the lightning jutsu, Naruto and Menma used their special version of the flying Raijin to easily flash everywhere throughout the battlefield and destroy all of the shinobi. And while this was happening, they all started to notice that strange white beings were showing up throughout the battlefield, and Naruto wrinkled his nose in disgust, and he was like, "Zetsus," and uh, he turned to Hinata and he was like, "How many of them are there?" And Hinata was like, "There are about 50,000 of them." And Naruto was like, "Alright, I'm going to unleash a jutsu now. I need all of you to get back onto the wall." They all nodded and they saw the number of Zetsus that were approaching Konoha, and Naruto was like, "Lava style, volcanic ocean," and he slammed his hands onto the ground, uh, opening up huge fissures and causing huge amounts of lava to spurt through them, and all of the Zetsus literally got melted, and Madara, or Obito, whoever, whatever you'd like to call him, he basically looked at the entire display in shock, and he was like, the, the entire army of Zetsus gone with one jutsu. How much chakra does a Ten Tails have? And he was like, Tsuchikage, gather whatever remains of your forces and go after the Nine Tails Jinchurikis. The Akatsuki will go after the Ten Tails. And Onoki was he was absolutely horrified of what was going on in this war. It wasn't going at all any way that he imagined, and he was like, "We shouldn't have done this. I was a fool to continue this plan, and now all of my shinobi are dead. I'd rather retreat. What you're suggesting will only prolong our defeat." And Obito was like, "You will continue the plan, otherwise Akatsuki will destroy whatever is left of your village." And Onoki reluctantly accepted, you know, agreed to Madara's suggestion, and gritting his teeth, he was like, "Fine, we'll do as you say." And Madara was like, "Excellent. Now, Pain, send Akatsuki after the after the Ten Tails." And Pain was like, "No need to send all of us, Madara. I am a god. We will win." I can easily defeat that Jinchuriki. And Madara backhanded the Pain, and he was like, "Are you stupid? Have you not seen his abilities? You will do as I say, Pain." And Pain was like, "Fine, I will do as you wish." And Madara was like, "Oh, you are mistaken, Pain. I will be joining you as well as you fight the Ten Tails." And Pain just nodded, and he went after Naruto. And Naruto saw the six paths of pain along with the other Akatsuki members, and he had an idea of how he could end this all quickly. So he waited until the Deva path, the Preta path, and the Naraka path were all in a straight line. And until then, he kept dodging, all the tries that the Akatsuki was making to attack him, as he was observing them with his Sharingan. And finally, after after he saw those three pains arranging themselves in one line, he was like, "Now!" And using his newly developed flying Raijin, he used his truth-seeking sword and cut straight through the three of them all in a line, rendering them useless. And he was like, the Pain was like, he took three of the paths in one move. And Naruto was like, now that that's dealt with. And he basically started to lift off the ground using wind manipulation to fly. And he was like, particle style, detachment of a primitive world. And he unleashed a huge particle style jutsu that covered the entire Akatsuki group that was fighting him. And they're like, no way, he can use particle style. And after the blinding flash of light was gone, he could see that the Tsuchikage and the remnants of his army were looking at him in awe. And there was a huge crater in the ground that looked like a meteorite strike. And the entire Akatsuki was gone except for one member, which was Madara or Obito. And Naruto was like, so we have a survivor. And he basically flew straight to Obito, and Obito warped to avoid Naruto contacting him. And surprising Obito, Naruto also warped at the same moment. And Obito was like, "What? He can use the same jutsu as me?" And Naruto was like, "I already know your secret, Obito Uchiha." And Obito was like, "How do you know that name?" And Naruto was like, "That's of little consequence to you." And he performed a series of long hand signs, and he was like, "Rin rebirth," as his Rinnegan flashed with power. And suddenly, out of the gates of the hell, the king of hell, out of the mouth of the king of hell came a perfectly healthy looking Rin, who was aged forward to meet Obito's age. And Naruto was like, "I gave you a second chance, Obito, use it wisely." And Obito looked at Rin in absolute shock, seeing that Naruto brought her back. And Rin started crying as she looked at Obito, and she was like, "I've seen everything you did, Obito." And Obito was like, "Rin, I can explain." And Rin basically gave him a resounding slap, and shattering his mask. And she was like, "How could you forget your dream, your promise?" And Obito looked down in shame, seeing that Rin would probably never love him again. And he took a kunai and put it to his own heart. And Rin was like, "Stop it, Obito, you idiot!" And then she kicked Obito and twisted his arm to make him let go of the kunai. And Obito started crying, and he was like, "I messed up, Rin." And Rin was like, "That you did." And Obito was like, "Is there any chance that things can go back to how they were between us?" And Rin was like, "No, not a single chance. However, while I can't forget what you did, I can slowly start to forgive you. But you have a lot of work to do to earn that right." And Obito was like, "I'm sorry, Rin. I'll make amends for what I have done. And Rin was like, as I expect from you. Do you know why, even after Kakashi told me about your feelings for me, I told him that I have feelings for him? And Obito just looked at her, and Rin was like, I was traumatized, Obito, because I lost you that day. It made me realize the truth about Shinobi. We have short lives, Obito, as mine evidently proved to be. I realized that even though I loved you, I couldn't just sit by grieving for you. We have to feel all the happiness that we possibly can throughout our short lives. I only told Kakashi that I had feelings for him because I didn't want to block myself from feeling love since I lost you. And Obito started to tear up at this point. And Rin was like, come, Obito, you have a lot to make up for. And Obito then took her hand and carried her out of the dimension. And while all of this was happening, Menma, Meiko, and Sasuke and Hinata all easily decimated the rest of the you know Tsuchikage's forces and killed Onoki. So the village hidden in stone was basically dead now. And Naruto was like, I have to do one last thing before we finish this war off and settle back down in the village. And everyone was like, what's that, Naruto? And Naruto was like, I must make Nagato and Conan see reason. And everyone was like, I thought you killed them, they were in the Akatsuki, right? And Naruto was like, no, who I fought today were just Conan's paper clone and Nagato's 6 paths of pain. His real body and Conan's real body as well are both hidden nearby. And everyone was like, we'll go with you. And Naruto was like, I'm sorry, but then I believe that only me and my siblings, along with Jiraiya, would be useful here. No offense against you and Hinata, Sasuke, but Pain and Conan were both students of Jiraiya as well. They'd be able to relate with us better. And Sasuke and Hinata, seeing reason in what Naruto was saying, both nodded, and Naruto used the Flying Raijin to bring Jiraiya, and they all went to find Nagato, and Naruto knew where Nagato was because of Ten Tails updating him on the location, and they all talk no jutsu, Nagato and Conan. You know how it goes, peace, blah blah blah. Using understanding and fear instead of fear to create peace and all that stuff. And Nagato and Conan finally understood, and Naruto asked them whether they wanted him to resurrect Yahiko for them, and they both were sorely tempted for a moment, but then they decided for that not to happen. And when Naruto asked why, they were like, "It's tempting, but then we feel that it's better to let the dead stay dead." And Naruto nodded at this and offered them both a place in Konoha where they could make up for the sins and become Konoha shinobi. And since the battle didn't escalate to the point where Kaguya was on the brink of returning, the Sage of Six Paths didn't make his appearance here, as he felt that his dream for the human race would happen without his intervention, as Naruto did strive for peace, being the child of prophecy and all. And then while they were walking back with Jiraiya, Jiraiya was like, Naruto, with the way you talk about peace, I have a feeling you should be Hokage. And Naruto was like, don't, Jiraiya, that's Menma's dream. Even though he's not as vocal about it, he wants peace just as much as I do. And plus, I'm not going to do a desk job. I'm a shinobi, not a desk worker. It would be a horrible waste of resources for me to be the Hokage. I'll settle with being Menma's advisor. And Jiraiya was like, well, that's an idea I can get behind. And by the way, Naruto was carrying Nagato's body to so that they could treat him back in Konoha, while Conan was just uh, going along with them. So with all of that said, they bring when they bring Nagato and Conan back to Konoha, uh, Tsunade, Hinata, and Karin all help treat him, and even Rin helps a little bit as well. as Naruto could only throw his body in the Gedomazo and take it out. Sorry, not the Gedomazo, the King of Hell, the mouth of the King of Hell. And since he had no like organs or anything missing, the only thing that was fixed was all the holes on his back, and his malnutrition still needed to be fixed. So the Hokage, like all of the prominent medical ninjas helped get him back to health and rehabilitate him. And that's the end of Akatsuki and the war. And by the way, Obito and Rin also came back to Konoha, needless to say. And Obito made up with Kakashi, and Kakashi, also met up with Rin, and they had like the emotional reunion and all that stuff. So once again, sorry for going so fast, guys. It's kind of obvious how things would go. So I apologize for uh, s- rushing through this, but then like realistically, if this situation actually happened in the show, in the anime, I'm pretty sure like it would turn out like this. So anyways, now after all of this, we move on to the Boruto era, and Naruto and Hinata still have two kids who are Boruto and Himawari, but then they don't have whisker marks like they do in canon, because Naruto is 10 tails Jinchuriki here and not the 9 tails. But Boruto, rather than being born with blonde hair, he is born with white hair. And while Himawari gets the Byakugan, Boruto does get the Sharingan. Like Sharingan in one eye and Jogan in the other eye. So Menma and Karin get together, and they had a son, and Menma thought it would be cool to name him after his alias in the bingo book. So his son was called Raijin, or sorry, not his alias in the bingo book. What am I saying? His main jutsu, and he called him Raijin, which means thunder god. So, anyways, um, Sasuke and Meiko obviously got together, and they had a daughter who was Sarada, and they also had a son who Sasuke named after his late father, Fugaku. And Itachi and Anko also got together as well, because they both were ostracized in the village because of distrust. Because Anko was Orochimaru's student and Itachi was the Uchiha clan's massacre, uh, killer, and even though the circumstances behind both of these things were explained, there were still many who ostracized them, and that was what united them and made them fall in love. So Itachi and Anko got together, and they had only a daughter who Itachi named after his late mother, Mikoto. And of course, who can forget Nagato and Conan? They got together as well, and of course, they had a son who was called Yahiko. And I always do this in all my what ifs. Whenever Nagato and Conan get together, they always have Yahiko. Jiraiya and Tsunade got together as well. I keep forgetting to do this in my other what if, guys. Uh, I keep forgetting about pairing Jiraiya and Tsunade. I leave both of them alive, but then I don't. I never pair them at the end. I keep forgetting, so I'm not going to make that mistake in this one. So Jiraiya and Tsunade are going to get together. And since they're too old to have children, they don't have any children. They just enjoy the rest of their days, being with each other. And of course, next we have Obito and Rin who get together, and they name their daughter Akatsuki after the organization, but then intending to give her the meaning of the true purpose of the organization, which is to create peace in the world. So that's why they named their daughter Akatsuki, or Tsuki for short. And of course, Asuma and Kurenai still got together. They still had Mirai. And Kakashi got together with Tsunade's apprentice Shizune, and they had a son who Kakashi named Sakumo after his father. So yeah, that's pretty much all the pairings, and I don't really need to tell you about how they were going to fight Momoshiki and Ishiki and the other Otsutsukis, uh, because it's going to be a stomp, especially because Naruto is immortal. So, with all that said, that brings us to the end of the series, guys. I'm so happy that you guys followed all the way to the end. So, I hope you've enjoyed. If you haven't, I'm sorry for making Naruto so OP. But anyways, if you did enjoy, leave a like and share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. And feel free to comment your thoughts on this video and your suggestions for future what ifs. And by the way, guys, since Naruto's way too OP in this one, and it's not even fair, I'm going to like for the what if where I'm going to make a crossover between Naruto and Percy Jackson. I'm actually going to use the Naruto from the next what if that I'm doing. Um, the one who has the Kaguya clan bloodline and no Sharingan or wood release, but he does have a few other bloodlines, and he is in the same batch as Itachi, and he later becomes a sensei for his little sister, who is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. So, anyways, guys, I'm pretty sure we are at 2K, guys. I haven't checked before recording this video. Um, but if we are, thank you guys so much for your support to my channel. Last time I checked, we were at like 998 or something. I'm not exactly sure, but then I hope we crossed 2K, and if we did, thanks a lot. So, with all that said, thanks for watching, guys.